We begin our journey into the wild, where a mischievous tiger cub is playing on a tree branch, unexpectedly encountering a giant beehive. The swarm of angry bees attacks, covering the cub's small body. In a panic, the tiger cub flees, rushing into the vast grassland. However, the swarm of bees still follows, continuously stinging and stinging. The poor tiger tries to find a place to hide, but the swarm of bees keeps surrounding it. Until exhausted, the tiger cub collapses by the stream. Despite the swarm of bees surrounding it, it tries to drink water to ease the pain. The little face is grimacing, the eyes are filled with tears, making anyone who sees it feel sorry. Fortunately, wildlife conservationists discovered the tiger's situation. They quickly approached, using protective gloves and other specialized tools to rescue the tiger cub from the bee attack. Next, the tiger cub was taken to a modern mobile laboratory in the middle of the grassland. Here, dedicated experts removed the remaining bees from its body. After being injected with anti-venom and applying medicine, the tiger cub gradually recovered. It was bathed, taken good care of, and fed fresh meat. Finally, the conservationists decided to release the tiger cub back into the wild. They believe that, with its strong survival instinct, the tiger will grow up and become a true king of the jungle. In a snow-covered forest, the silence was suffocating. A white tiger with black stripes lay motionless on the cold snow, its body covered with strange lumps. Beside it, a small, frightened tiger cub rubbed against its mother, trying to wake up the large animal that was gradually dying. The tiger's hoarse roar echoed in the quiet, painful space. In a completely frozen wilderness, wildlife rescuers were sitting around a fire to warm themselves. Suddenly, in the quiet space, a roar rang out, attracting everyone's attention. Looking in the direction of the sound, there was a white tiger cub trembling in fear, with a few tears still on its face, looking for help. The wildlife rescuers decided to follow the tiger cub, overcoming layers of thick snow to reach the place where the mother tiger was dying. The mother tiger's body was covered with strange tumors, causing the animal to suffer extreme pain. Faced with this dangerous situation, they quickly came up with a rescue plan, carefully removing each of the evil tumors on the mother tiger's body, injecting antibiotics and bandaging the animal's wounds. Each action was gentle and decisive, with the desire to ease the pain of the poor animal. After many difficulties, the mother tiger was finally healed and reunited with her cub. Both mother and cub clung to each other, snuggling into the warm fur full of love. Witnessing that touching moment, the wildlife rescue soldiers could not help but be moved, smiling as they looked towards a bright future. In a frozen world where white snow meets gray skies, a giant white tiger stands alone. Its fur is covered in a terrifying swarm of insects. These fleas, seemingly drawn to the warmth of the beast, crawl and squirm, turning this majestic creature into a bizarre sight. From the safety of his helicopter, a rescuer watches the tiger covered in insects. A sight that captures the strangeness and danger of the Arctic. The rescue team then sets out to find the tiger. Armed with knowledge and compassion, they embark on a dangerous mission. In their helicopter, they hurtle through the frozen wilderness, determined to help the poor white tiger. As they approach the animal, they witness the horrifying effects of the invasion. The tiger was weak, its body covered in millions of Arctic insects. Rescuers and conservationists worked tirelessly, trying to remove the fleas and save the animal from certain death. With patient hands and careful attention, they removed the white tiger from the cocoon and healed its wounds. As if the animal understood the help, it remained docile, allowing the rescuers to apply medicine, ointments, and bandages to it. As the tiger gradually recovered, the bond between man and animal deepened. With each act of kindness, the white tiger grew in trust and appreciation shone brightly in its sparkling eyes. Finally, the time came when the majestic animal could be returned to the frozen wilderness. Looking at his rescuers, the tiger seemed to express his gratitude and promised to live free, protecting the cold ecosystem he called home. In the lush green tropical forest where sunlight filtered through the leaves, a towering figure appeared. It was a Bengal tiger, the king of the forest, with its golden fur and strong black stripes, standing out against the green of the trees. The tiger's sharp, alert eyes scanned the surroundings. The tiger was hungry. It looked up at the towering branches, and then the tiger's eyes lit up. On a sturdy branch, a giant beehive full of honey was swinging in the wind. The tiger decided to climb the tree. It used its sharp claws to cling tightly to the tree trunk, step by step, climbing up. The tiger's large, heavy body made the tree branches shake violently, but the tiger still persevered. When it was only a short distance from the beehive, the bees discovered the intruder. They flew out in droves, forming a pitch-black cloud, filling the sky. The buzzing sounds of thousands of bees echoed throughout the forest, signaling a relentless battle. The swarm of bees rushed to attack the tiger. The sharp needles continuously pierced the tiger's flesh, causing sharp pain. The tiger roared in pain, trying to push the swarm of bees away with its hands, but to no avail. The more stings, the more intense the pain. The swarm of bees did not let go, continuing to attack. The tiger rolled on the ground, roaring, but could not escape the bees' encirclement. At the most critical moment, another sound rang out, tearing apart the quiet night of the forest. It was the sound of a car engine, getting louder and louder, accompanied by the shrill sound of a siren. A bright red wildlife rescue vehicle rushed to the scene. The rescue team, the silent heroes of the jungle, received the news and came to the rescue in time. They were equipped with tight protective suits and specialized smoke sprayers, and quickly deployed their formation. A few people in the team stepped forward and sprayed the smoke sprayers directly at the bees. The thick white smoke enveloped the beehive, causing the bees to panic and scatter. The tiger was finally freed from its nightmare. The rescue team quickly approached the tiger. They checked the wound, injected painkillers, and applied antiseptics. Their dedication and professionalism made the tiger, although still in pain, gradually become gentle and trusting. The stings from the bees had caused a lot of damage to the tiger. The rescue team took good care of the tiger, fed it well, and monitored its health. After a long period of care, the tiger's health gradually recovered. It began to run and play in its own enclosure. The rescue team decided it was time to release the tiger. After being released into the forest, the tiger regained its wild instincts. Oh my God, look! A white tiger, the proud king of the jungle, was trapped in a thick layer of mud. Its large, powerful body trembled, not only because of the coldness of the mud, but also because of a strange creature, a slippery black and red mass, like a giant leech that was clinging tightly to its back. The creature's tentacles wriggled, tightening, draining the tiger's strength, making it weaker and weaker. Not far away, a small wild dog was wandering around looking for food. It quickly rushed over, its eyes shining brightly when it saw the trapped tiger. But when it saw the strange creature, Its fur stood on end in fear. Unable to let the white tiger die like that, the dog immediately ran through the forest towards the main road where the people were. It barked loudly, rushing to a man, an excavator operator who was working nearby. The dog jumped up, bitten his clothes lightly, then ran towards the forest, looking back as if to say, "Follow me." The man frowned, but the panic in the dog's eyes made him decide to follow. When he saw the white tiger stuck, he immediately understood the situation. Without hesitation, he started the excavator, controlled the powerful iron arm down into the mud, gently lifting the tiger out of the quagmire. But the red-black creature would not let go. It crawled up, wriggling as if it wanted to cover the tiger's entire body. Knowing that he could not handle the monster alone, the man immediately called the wildlife rescue team. Within 15 minutes, a team of experts arrived. They brought special tools using a biological anesthetic gun to weaken the monster's creature. Then, using protective gloves, they forcefully pulled the strange creature away from the tiger. It thrashed violently, making a terrifying sound before being locked in a specialized bag. As soon as the creature was removed, the white tiger gasped, its eyes filled with gratitude. The experts quickly examined its wounds, bandaging the lacerations on its skin. Under the white snow of the wilderness, a small creature was struggling to cross the harsh terrain. It was a tiger cub, eyes panicked but determined, looking for help. Behind it, on the cold cliff, its mother, a proud white tiger, was writhing under the weight of a terrible disease. The mother tiger's body no longer retained its original strength. Its beautiful fur was now invaded by jagged yellow tumors, clinging to its body like giant parasites. More frighteningly, a deformed brain bulged on its back, vibrating with each weak breath of the poor beast. The mother tiger still stood there, straining against the pain, her deep eyes shining with the last of her survival instinct. The cub trudged forward, through the snow and cold wind, toward the humans. It didn't know if they would help, but it had no choice. And then a miracle happened. Two men in orange protective suits appeared. They were stunned by the sight before them, seeing the exhausted cub, and as they followed it, they discovered the mother tiger in the midst of an unprecedented biological nightmare. Without hesitation, they immediately alerted the wildlife rescue team. Helicopters cut through the cold sky, carrying experts and advanced rescue equipment. Glove-clad hands quickly approached the mother tiger, their eyes filled with anxiety, but not without determination. The ice on her fur was shaved off. Advanced medical equipment began to diagnose. And disinfectant was poured over the strange tumors. The mother tiger shuddered slightly, her eyes a mixture of fear and utter exhaustion. What was this disease? Where did it come from? And most importantly, could they save this proud wild beast before it was too late? The race against time had officially begun between harsh nature and a terrifying medical mystery. Oh my God, look! A mother tiger lay crouched, her body writhing under layers of hideous creatures. Millions of black, writhing, slithering parasitic snakes. Beside her, the tiger cub trembled, its eyes wide with fear at the horrifying sight. The mother tiger's heart-rending roar echoed, not a groan of surrender, but a desperate cry for help, resonating in the silent space. She called for someone who could help her and her cub escape these hideous parasites. In the midst of her despair, an old woman appeared, her bright yellow dress standing out against the gray desert. She approached, unafraid, her eyes filled with compassion and determination. She whispered gentle words of reassurance, like a prayer for life. And that prayer was heard. From the emergency communication line, an elite rescue team was mobilized. The helicopter tore through the wind, landing in the middle of the desert, bringing the most modern experts in technology. The battle against the parasitic snakes began. They used special equipment, spraying chemicals to kill. Layer by layer of venomous snakes were destroyed. But there were too many snakes. They clung tightly to the tiger's body, writhing in resistance, making the rescue extremely difficult. Determined not to give up, the rescue team used all their strength. They used their hands, carefully removing each snake, regardless of the danger. Finally, after hours of extreme tension, the mother tiger and her cub were freed. The entire rescue team burst into joy of victory. Looking at the mother tiger lovingly licking her cubs, they felt the sacred value of life. The forest was covered in snow. Only the campfire beside me provided some warmth. I had just poured a cup of hot coffee, watching the smoke rise in the cold air. Everything was so quiet that I could hear the gentle sound of falling snow. Suddenly, a soft sound rang out in the snowy forest. I raised my head, my eyes widening as I saw a small tiger cub, its white fur speckled with snow, standing not far from me. It stared at me, its big round eyes filled with worry. The tiger cub growled softly and turned and ran away, but not out of fear. It paused for a moment, glancing at me as if to make sure I would follow. I quickly picked up my backpack and followed the small footprints in the snow. Soon I saw a scene that made me stop. A large mother tiger was lying motionless in the middle of the white snow. She was breathing weakly, and the most terrifying thing was the parasites covering her back. Tiny spots that clung tightly to her fur, looking like cold little stones. I knew I had to do something. Although I was a little hesitant, I still took a deep breath, comforting myself. I approached slowly, trying not to frighten either mother or cub. Surprisingly, the mother tiger did not appear aggressive or threatening. Perhaps she was too weak to react, or perhaps she knew that I was not an enemy. These parasites were very attached, but with patience I began to remove them bit by bit. Occasionally the mother tiger trembled slightly, but she remained still, as if she knew that I was helping her. After removing most of the parasites, I used a soft towel to wipe her body clean, applying a layer of moisturizer to soothe her skin. I carefully used tweezers to remove them one by one, making sure not to hurt her. Time passed finally. The mother tiger's thick fur was much cleaner. I stepped back a bit to observe, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. Amidst the cold, icy landscape, this moment was strangely warm. The winter forest was eerily quiet. A giant white wolf stood motionless. Its body was not covered by lifeless stones, but by thousands of parasites, each a miniature nightmare. They clung tightly, draining its life force, turning the wolf into a living ruin. The little wolf cub witnessed everything, its heart broken. Understanding that time was running out, it left its mother, rushing into the snow, carrying the last ray of hope. Its journey was a race against death, each step a heartbreaking cry for help. The roar of the helicopter echoed, dispelling the terrifying night. The orange-clad rescue team appeared, angels responding to the wolf cub's plea. They saw the big wolf, and horror was evident on their faces. But fear did not stop them. With courage and determination, they began the rescue operation. Each parasite was carefully removed. Each time a painful groan echoed in the forest. Although it was difficult, they did not waver. The battle against thousands of parasites was long, but in the end, they won. The body of the big wolf was freed. It collapsed weakly, but was still alive. The rescue team continued to clean, disinfect, and inject medicine, bringing hope to the poor animal. Finally, when dawn broke, the big wolf recovered. It looked at the wolf cub with grateful eyes, then turned to the rescuers. I had walked for miles in these mountains, the mist hanging thick like a veil of mystery. Every step a discovery, until I saw it. A small creature, fur as white as snow, approached me with extraordinary determination. A wolf pup. Normally I would have been wary, but there was something in its eyes that told me otherwise. It was a plea, a silent plea so heartbreaking that it broke my heart. It wanted me to follow it. I didn't hesitate. I knew that something was wrong, that fate had summoned me here. The path Luna had led me on was difficult and dangerous. It was as if the wolf pup was testing my resolve, verifying whether I was worthy of the task it was about to entrust to me. And then I saw her. Lyra, the wolf mother, lay silently on the mossy grass, motionless. As I got closer, I realized why. It wasn't a simple wound or illness. It was something much more hideous. Hundreds, thousands of creatures were attached to her body, each one a tiny parasite, sucking the life out of her. I had never seen anything so horrible. I immediately took action. Fortunately, my survival instincts urged me to always carry a multi-purpose first aid kit. The work was torture, the sound of things moving, breathing heavily. Each creature was a struggle, a painful effort to remove, not to hurt Lyra. Lyra whimpered weakly, but she did not resist. Perhaps it understood that I was here to help. Luna watched, her large eyes filled with fear and hope. The little creature never took her eyes off me, and her presence spurred me on. The clamps became extensions of my fingers, carefully removing each creature. Then I used the brush to clean the stubborn patches, the scrubbing sound removing what they left behind. The antiseptic helped soothe the inflamed skin, the wounds caused by the disgusting creatures. I wiped and scraped layer after layer. The stench was strong, the wind was howling, my hands were numb. It began to rain, drops of water mixed with sweat and tears, but I couldn't stop. Lyra, this little wolf, the whole wilderness counted the seconds. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the last animal was eliminated, sighing wearily but contentedly. I stood back, admiring my work. Lyra looked different, tired, scarred, but free. Luna moved closer to her mother and began to lick, a sacred ritual of love and bonding. Feeling immensely happy to be the witness, I knew I had done my part. In the lonely heart of the Arctic, where the cold, howling winds carved stories of resilience on the ice, the mother wolf suffered under a strange burden. A giant fossilized snail shell, decorated with magical spirals, stuck to her back, tormenting her body and binding her spirit. Her suffering echoed to her only child, a wolf cub who had only learned to walk on ice, but whose heart was stronger than ever. With unrivaled determination, the wolf cub ventured into a frozen desert, eventually meeting a man named Elias, a lone camper, immersed in the solitude of the harsh land. With pleading cries and a pounding heart, the wolf cub begged him to lead him before his suffering mother. Elias felt a sharp pang, but he knew he did not have the strength to fight that ancient burden. Helpless, he called upon a secret unit, a rescue team equipped to tackle the impossible. The guards of the wilderness answered. Their helicopters tore through the icy air, the light from their searchlights illuminating a strange sight, the tenacious wolf captured by a relic of a bygone era. After a silent but urgent investigation, the rescue team came up with a daring plan. With meticulous care, they released the large chains, each link forged with purpose and determination. Wrapped around the monstrous shell, fate now rests upon a mechanical giant, a giant crane, a metal giant with a heart of precision. With a roar that shakes the ice, the beast has awakened. Its cables stretch as anticipation creeps into the silence. Under the cold sky, the rescue team springs into action, each one a cog in a sympathetic machine. With a carefully calculated tension, the crane begins to lift, telling the creaking silence. The shell, with each twist worth centuries, moved, resisted, and finally gave way. The sound of separation echoes in the icy greatness, followed by the mother wolf's broken, liberated howl, a primal symphony marking the rebirth of freedom. In the snowy wilderness, where life struggles to survive, a silent cry for help echoes. The rescue team found it. A white wolf, majestic in beauty, now shrouded in a terrifying cloak. Millions of bees clinging to it, destroying its vitality. With no hesitation, they began the fight. With care and respect for all living things, they gently brought the poor wolf to shelter, a warm fortress in the harsh cold of nature. First came the smoke, a gentle mist that chased away the small invaders, giving them a chance to approach. Little by little, they removed the evil honeycomb structures, freeing the wolf from the burden of pain. After removing all the beehives, they gently sprayed the wolf's skin with a layer of antiseptic, soothing the wounds and preventing infection, giving it a chance to recover. Under the soft blue light of the aurora borealis, a giant Arctic wolf was sleeping deeply on an iceberg. Its back was covered with strange pebbles. As dawn began to clear the darkness, a group of brave researchers arrived at the scene. They tried to gently move this giant creature, bringing it to a nearby icebreaker. On board, a dedicated medical team was waiting, ready to meticulously remove the stowaways and heal the poor wolf's wounds. These healers used sophisticated techniques, including small surgical instruments and water jets, to carefully remove these parasites, demonstrating their dedication. After undergoing a meticulous cleansing process and antibiotic treatment, the wolf seemed to undergo a clear transformation. The creature's recovery was marked by a sumptuous meal of fresh meat, which it ate with relish. After this attentive care and attention, the wolf was ready to return to the frozen wilderness. As it stepped out of the ship, its mighty figure painted the white horizon. The wolf looked up to the sky. As it gave in to its instinctive call, a powerful howl echoed across the frozen wasteland. In the silence, a mother wolf lay motionless on the frozen ground. Her fur was covered with pieces of shells and strange objects, as if she had drifted from somewhere far away. The wolf cub stood beside her. Her anxious eyes followed her mother's weak breathing. A howl rang out, trembling and fragile in the snowy forest, then quickly disappeared into the distance. She turned away. Her small feet stepped on the cold snow, following the small stream, stopping for a drink, then continuing on. In the dim snow ahead, the campfire flickered, emitting warm streaks of light. The wolf cub crept toward a campsite where a man sat by the fire, gently holding out a metal cup. The wolf cub hesitated, then gradually approached. The firelight highlighted the fragile gray fur. There was no threat, only gentleness and acceptance. In the snowy forest, the man and the wolf cub walked together, leaving two parallel tracks of footprints on the white ground. In the cold of winter, the mother wolf was being cared for. Patient hands removed the pieces of bark from its back, grooming the fur that had become rough from fatigue. A white liquid was poured, gradually seeping into the fur, carrying the hope of revival. The mother wolf stirred slightly. Her breathing became a little stronger. In the night sky, the full moon shone brightly. The mother wolf stood beside her cub, Both of them raised their heads and let out a long howl, echoing throughout the snow-covered forest. No more cold, no more loneliness, only connection. A dire wolf wanders through the woods drawn by a giant beehive hanging from an ancient tree. As it investigates, unwittingly unleashing a swarm of angry bees. The wolf is covered in stinging bees. Chaos ensues as the venom takes hold, causing a situation that has to be seen to be believed. But don't worry, because a wildlife rescue team will be on the scene shortly. Sirens wail through the frozen forest. They will travel through the treacherous terrain to save our unfortunate wolf. In a heartwarming rescue effort, the rescue team will work tirelessly to extract the venom and free the wolf from the beehive. We trust you will join them, because every action makes a difference. Then they took the wounded wolf to their remote shelter. Here it was carefully tended. The wounds were cleaned, and as the small wounds healed, the wolf began to recover. As its health improved, the wolf enjoyed the simple pleasure of eating a hearty meal, seemingly marking the end of the days of hunger. It was a sight to behold.